Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of The Things We Do Not Want to Talk About. And I want to start off with just saying thank you. Thank you to everyone. I have gotten such good feedback from episode 1. After being away for 8 months, you kind of get nervous. Or was it 9 months? I think 9 months. You get nervous. Like, what are people going to say? You'd be like, do I still have my niche? But I just want to say thank you, y'all. I really had loved the first episode. I think it was a good beginning point to what this season will be. I don't know, I just feel good about this season. I'm thankful, and it really was like a good turning point or next point to what this new episode would be. So let's get into it. So for this episode, I was thinking a lot about it, and I'm like, this is one that has been so personal to me, but also one that's just been so important in terms of women. But I feel like regardless of gender, you will find some way to relate to it. And what I've been exploring lately is this idea of cathexis versus love. So cathexis is spelled Cathexis. So someone correct me if I'm not saying it wrong. If I'm not saying it right. It may even be pronounced cathexis. That's what we're going to say. So cathexis or cathexis versus love. And it's this idea that came from Scott Peck, The Road Less Traveled. And I guess I'm gonna get some more context for that. Before I talk about where I got it from and the term, I've been at this point of my life where I want all of my relationships to be purposeful. I want them to be reciprocity filled. I would like, and that's not the right, I should have said reciprocal. I would like them to be maintained and nurtured. And I was having a talk with my friend, and I was just talking about, like, what is love? Like, how do we identify it? How do we even come up with this lust, infatuation, love sometimes that we say we have? And really more so, what does it require to sustain these relationships that we have, whether they are intimate or not intimate? So I think I've mentioned before last season a book that I am so in love with. It's called All About Love by Bell Hooks. And inside of that book, it goes in detail to talk about how love is not just a feeling, but love is actually an action. So many times we'll say we fail in love, or I'm falling in love, but it's not something you could fall in, right? True love only happens when it's being maintained, when it's being nurtured, and when you feel that love without pain. So sometimes we always think about it, and I'll make the joke, the only person that's going to love you like that is your mama or your daddy, right? Parents have this unconditional love for you, or stereotypically they're supposed to. So as I was exploring that, I was on Google, and I don't even know how I stumbled on it, but I stumbled on these notes from Scott Peck talking about what love is and what he thinks it is versus what cathexis is. And the point that I got from it was, a lot of times we think that we're feeling love, but what we really are feeling is this idea of called cathexis or cathexis, right? And before I go into those notes, I do want to say, because this is how bad I want everybody to read the book. Whoever messages me on Instagram, whoever the first person is, to just tell me to send you a book, I want to send you a book of All About Love by Bell Hooks, because the book is so amazing. I wish I just had it for everybody to get a copy. But when you really read that book, I want you all to like really look at it and read it with an open mind. And I promise you, from reading that book, you're going to look at all of your relationships in a different way, your community in a different way, your intimate relationships, the love you have for yourself, and the way you have been sustaining and maintaining relationships. So again, if you want the book, just DM me on Instagram. Y'all know my Instagram is The Educator and Kenge. So TheEducatorNkenge. It's gonna be me with my arms folded tight like a tax preparer. No, but you'll see me. I have on a white blouse. So this really messaged me because I really want someone to have that book so you all can really dive into it. But some of the notes I took from Scott Peck were, he introduces a term called cathexis. Cathexis is the act of investing mental or emotional energy in a person, object, or idea. We can cathect many things: money, power, fame, a piece of jewelry, our pets, our hobbies, and other people. He says cathexis is not love. Cathexis is attachment and investment in a person or thing. It may not involve any action on the part of the cathecting person. By action, I mean actions that prove the love for the other person. So this idea of like, yeah, the love is being done per se, but it's not being acted upon or it's not being intentional. So it says, so he says instead, love happens as a result of cultivating a trusting, respectful relationship that involves a lot of work. The only way to be assured of being loved is to be a person worthy of love, and you cannot be a person worthy of love when your primary goal in life is to be passively. You cannot be a person worthy of love when your primary goal in life is to passively be loved. So when I read that, y'all, it was like, oh, wow. Like, that was pretty deep. I haven't ever heard of anything like that before. And it had me thinking a lot of times of why our relationships don't work and sometimes why we're in the situations that we do. So, of course, I'm always making a personal connection to something and trying to figure out how does this fit in my life. And then I share it with y'all because I feel like these are the things we don't want to talk about, or maybe even that we don't know. So my past situation, and I'm probably going to keep bringing this up throughout this season because it's trending and it's important, but that situation I was in, that intimate situation, might I add, was one that really, really grew me up. And I say that because this was the first time I was as close as possible to a real relationship and really had the ability to learn someone and see what it's like, and also unfortunately deal with someone that is emotionally unavailable. So going into the situation I was in, my main goal I realized was like, I wanted to be loved, right? I wanted to be loved, and I wanted to be the only girl in your life. I don't want to be a side chick. I don't want to be one of 10, right? I wanted to be your one. So within a situation, I believe that was true. I don't know what happens behind my back, but it appeared to be true. But what I started to realize most importantly was that now I'm saying this, of course, because I'm looking at it from what it, I'm saying for what it was. During that time, I was not able, or what I did was I looked at the nice treatment, I looked at the good things and the intentionality per se that was happening, and I confused that with love. And as the relationship got deeper and got deeper, a wall that I kept finding myself hitting was not being emotionally fulfilled. And I couldn't understand why. And this wasn't a situation where I was getting cheated on or anything crazy was happening. So I can't get like, oh, so what's the reason? It was like I couldn't get a connection going. And when I say couldn't get a connection, it was like, is this really love? Like, I couldn't put my finger on it. Like, yeah, I loved him and I liked what we were doing, but there was no depth. And that's weird because usually you could say that like, it's kind of done in more explicit ways, but in our case, it wasn't. And I started to wonder, like, wait, is this? So like, I feel like I'd be getting more closer and then he'd shy away, right? And then with me having OCD and having anxiety, I started to think like, what did I do wrong? And oh my God, maybe I did this and maybe I did that. And then that started the bad circle of me always having to question myself in that situation a lot and not knowing my place and not really knowing my worth because I was constantly on this, I would say, cycle of trying to perform and trying to prove myself because I looked at it was me why I couldn't get that deep love and connection that I wanted so bad. It was something that I wasn't doing. When reality, what it was I was in a situation where someone did not know how to love properly and I just didn't know the words to describe it. So all I looked at is like was I was doing something wrong and I was the one that needed to fix it instead of looking at it for what it was of people being in situations that they are not quite ready for, right? And of course, it hurt my feelings plenty of times. I mean, I can go so in depth about it, how my body literally was rejecting it plenty of times. But because of the fact of not knowing my worthiness, I looked at it always, it was something I had to fix and something that I was doing wrong. So when we had had ended things and I was going back and just reflecting and looking back in old journals and just kind of going on Google, looking up stuff, I had came across this and it made me think about it. And the one thing that remained true outside of my feelings was I don't feel like the love for me was ever maintained or nurtured. So I tell people all the time, I had a lot of really high moments, but then it's like nothing. And it's like, oh my God, it's so weird. Like, what is it? You know what I'm saying? It's not a money thing. It's not a this thing. It's not a that thing. It's not a he doesn't like me or he has another girl. But like, what is it? But when we date, and this is why situationships and dating is so the new thing, you don't have to nurture those. Those are things you do at your leisure. You do it when you're available. You do it when you get around to it. You may or you may not. And for me, I was treating it and trying to nurture it as if this was a relationship that I wanted to build and be in for a lifetime. Whereas with him, I feel like maybe he was intentional per se, but we didn't share the same values on how the love would be expressed and how it would be maintained. And for the first time in my life, I came to this realization. And although I have not been in relationships, like I have not had a adult committed relationship ever, it made me think about my many situationships and my dating experiences and thinking about that's the thing that has always been missing. I have maybe not even ever even experienced love. You know, if it's saying that love is something that has to be maintained and nurtured and sustained, have I really ever experienced love for someone? Or did I just have people in my life that provided good experiences and good times? Because when I look at that, and I'm going to say it again, love happens as a result of cultivating a trusting, respectful relationship that involves a lot of work. I cannot say that any dating situation I have been in required a lot of work. And I feel like that always had advantage to the guy, of course, because they're the ones that are like the lead person. We're feeding off of their energy. And when I read it, I was pretty upset. It kind of made me sad. And it made me think about, dang, like, okay, like, how do I help men who are emotionally unavailable see the value in it? Or how do I have this conversation with somebody else on something that's so serious to me? Because as I get older, I'm starting to realize it's that serious. Like, I am someone who enjoys maintaining relationships, whether they're intimate or not. Even when it comes to friends, like, I expect you to do what you say you're going to do. I expect you to put in time with me. I expect you to put in the work, and I expect you to show up. And I feel like many times we can get intimidated to say those things. But if you think about it, what we doing if we not working at something, or you're not showing up for someone, or you are not being there and loving them the way that they want to be loved? How will a relationship ever be maintained, sustained, and then trusting? You know? And I feel like this falls not only for intimate relationships, but those that are non-intimate as well. So as I was going through all of that and I'm pulling it apart, like, oh, this is why this, and this is why this, and this is why that, I feel like I got away from resenting him, because at first, like, for a couple of days, I like was really resentful towards him. Like, why would you play with me knowing you didn't want that? But it made me more realistically say and really kind of think about, do our men, and Black men in particular, you know what I'm saying, and maybe just men all over, I just don't have any experiences with men of other races, where is so much of this emotional unavailability coming from? Is it something people want to learn about? And what does it look like when you are in situations as an empath or someone that's very emotional and you are with people that are so detached, right? That it has to be a really, really, really emotionally draining thing. And I feel like me being in it for a long period of time has really showed how my emotional scale has dipped tremendously just by being in a situation so closely that did not fulfill me. And as I came to that realization, I wanted to really share with people of just really kind of looking at the situations that you are in and thinking about, where is the equal yoke coming from, or is it even being equally yoked to begin with? And for ladies in particular, we have to be very, very careful that we look at the messages that the people we are dating are sending us, right? Is it saying, I like you at this moment and you're desirable? Or is it saying that I actually want to build with you and I would like something real and I would like something that's going to last a lifetime? Right? You have to know. Everybody knows me. Once was a serial dater, right? I didn't even want a relationship. That was so cool with me. But as I get older, I'm realizing I still like to date and I will date, you know, but I'm not doing no more of the situationships though, right? I'm not doing that gray area. Either we all in or we not, right? I'm seeing 5 people or I'm seeing 1. It ain't gonna be none of the, oh, but we exclusive and we this, but we do. No, because what it sets it up for is it sets up for this playing game of always in and out, right? And when you want people to be intentional and when you are intentional with yourself, those are not the things that we do. Right? Those are not the things that really are becoming to us, nor are they the things that help us get into our greater selves. So when I thought about that, And the next part I was looking at was like how when we are trying to get the love from another person, I want us to really get away from this idea that it's always us. And it may just be a me thing who always tries to put the blame on myself, but I'm pretty sure it's not. And I want us as women in particular to really, really get away from, even if it is you at first, I want you to just get that out your head. And for me, being someone that I am, and I would say like I was self-proclaimed, right? I'm a pretty person, I'm successful, I'm this, I'm that, whatever a guy would look at as a desirable woman. I'm sure I fit all of those check boxes, right? But then I look at it from my end, it's like, okay, why do I fit all of those check boxes, but yet I'm still like, yeah, but don't have the one that respects all those things, right? Or I haven't met the person that makes me feel my most loved self. And I was kind of fighting with myself about that. It was a really sad thing. I was crying and stuff. And I had to be real and really look at it for what it is. And I had to tell myself, why is so much of my worthiness being put on how I am loved by someone else? That's too much power. That's way too much power for the things we do to be controlled by another person, another fickle person, right? Another human just like us who mess up, do better, fall down, get back up. Why do we put so much into that? So as I went back to that definition, I'm like, man, right? If nobody working towards it, if it's not creating any bitterness, what are the boundaries? What are the things that are off limits? Where is the realness? Where's the foundation? Why are we going so hard for these things that really mean nothing? And once I got to that point, it did give me some ease, right? But it still had me thinking of like, but still, how do we constantly get into these situations? And it's like, what does it look like if we really do want to maintain real love and not just fun and play? And for me, it was like, woo, and King, that's a serious conversation. Because again, I like to date. Like, I'm fine with, like, for a long time, I wasn't even a person that was like, oh, one of my requirements is you got to be loyal to me. Like, that's not, I don't think I've ever said that in my life. And there's nothing wrong with that. I just have a more realistic approach, and that's not my thing. Like, my thing is always more so, as long as you treat me right and you respect me when you with me, I mean, I can't control what you do when I'm not around. Right. And if you respected me and you're doing right by me, I may not know, or maybe you're not doing it, you know, but it was always more so like, how am I being treated and what are the things I'm getting? So it's like the outside world doesn't really bother me. But as I'm growing and experiencing, and now being with someone who I'm sure I was the only one, I have found solace in that exclusiveness, but also kind of thinking about, would I be happy if I didn't have that, but I had someone that was trying to maintain love, or someone that was trying to maintain trust and respect within our situation? How would my response be then? So when I was starting to think about guys in particular, because I know guys are listening to my podcast, and I would love to talk about this. Oh my God, I wish Molly Ma was here right now. He would be the perfect person to have this conversation with. If you're listening, call me. But it made me think about the relationship that guys have with their parents, and I don't know, how they've grown up in their childhood. Like, I feel like more stereotypically than not, we assume that women are loved, right? Of course, you have the insecure women who may not have been loved, some that have mommy issues, some that have daddy issues, some who were have not experienced the feeling of being chosen in life, right? Not being desirable. But for men, I feel like a lot of times that strongness comes over, the hypersexuality comes over, not really secure with who they really are per se, maybe just not reaching the point of manhood they want, whatever it is, right? I don't like to speak from a man's perspective, but these are some of the things, that I could stereotypically think about. It's like, at what point do we explore that emotional availability or the capability with men? And kind of at what point do men feel like that's a necessity or it's a value? Because I feel like somewhere along the lines, we have lost the essence of the value that a woman brings. We're not talking about sexual value, or we're not talking about a materialistic thing or a superficial thing, but just like the value, right? Same way the value of what a man brings. I was talking to somebody a few weeks ago, and I was like, it felt good just for like the male attention. And I was being serious. Like, it's something that the opposite sex it makes you feel good, or it makes me feel good being a hetero woman, right? It feels good. Just like I'm sure a woman's attention to a hetero male, that makes him happy. And it's like, I want us to bring back this focus of us needing each other, right? I know we didn't kill it with all the fakeness and all of this and all of that, but it's like, when do we get back to the real essence of relationships, of family, of community, of being one with someone? Like, I remember I was telling the guy, like, I just want us to be one. Like, I feel like we are on separate pages and we're not doing things together. And I feel like what I desire in a person is, at this point, our lives should be one. I don't want to be two separate people just sometimes colliding together, right? And I feel like a lot of our situations, that's what they have become. I don't know why. I have some thoughts and theories, but I want us to truly, truly, truly get away from that. So once I had kind of got to that point, and I thought about the guy's perspective, and I thought about how men would feel, I now thought about us as women, and I had these two questions that have been on my mind. How do we as women place ourselves in disadvantaged positions when we engage deeply with men who don't have the same desires? And I'm going to say it again. How do we as women place ourselves in a disadvantaged position when we engage deeply with men who don't have the same desires, or don't have the capacity to really lean into love? And those are kind of two separate questions. But I feel like this question is for those that are passion-filled. This is for those that know themselves. These are for those that would like to be more intentional with their walk and their talk and their way of being. Or just those that are really trying to be or trying to attract better people. Like, I feel like for me, I still haven't dated a new person yet, right? It's been 2 years, I haven't dated a new person yet. And now going in it, I'm like, okay, so what would be different in my next situation, right? Do I tell him off the rip, I want love to be maintained and I want it to be trusting and respected and blah, 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 blah. And even as I'm saying this out loud, it has me thinking, I still don't know if that's what I want now that I'm thinking about it. But I thought I did. And I say that because when I started messing with the guy, and I was fresh from another situationship. That's why I said I got to go from those situationships. No more situationships 2024. But I was literally fresh from my last situationship. And I would say in my case, I just jumped into it and it felt right. And I really thought it was a better situation than my last. So it just seemed like perfect. And it was in many ways. But what I really noticed I didn't do, and what my grandma said was, yeah, you spent a lot of time and y'all did a lot fast, but you didn't ever get a chance to get to know him. And when she said, I'm like, what? That's what we do. You date to get to know people. She said, no, y'all spent a lot of time dating, but you didn't ever get to know him. She said, because if you would have spent time getting to know who he was, then you wouldn't be in this position, because you would already know that's who he was from the beginning. And that had me thinking like, dang, that's a good point. And what that means is, you know how sometimes you would hear women be like, he didn't take me on dates or this or that, and we always look at it like, okay, you got to have a date to spend time with people or get to know them. No, it's not about the date. It's you actually getting to know them. Like, when my grandma even made the suggestion of like, you need to talk more about what y'all both want before it's too many of them dates or too much time spent. It's too much time spent without getting to know somebody. When she said that, I'm like, but we grown. We about to sit on the phone, get to know people. That's how we're getting to know people. Like, even with the last guy, we was out of town within the first week. Like, we were pretty on point. Like, I feel like any man that comes to your first date with these beautiful roses and his beautiful bouquet, he's intentional. So I thought. But I thought that was us getting to know each other, right? Us going out and having good times and this, that, and the other. And what I confused that as was, I confused that for love. And that's the point of this podcast, this episode, right? We confuse so many of these other things with love. Someone dating you, it's not love. Someone buying you nice things, it's not love. Someone doing X, Y, Z and a third for you, it's not love. If it is not being maintained, it's not something that's reciprocal, it's not something that you put in a lot of work to create and keep going, it's not love. And it hurt me once I said it. And I'm going to keep saying it because I want to be more and more real with myself. But in this situation, I fell for the cathexis, right? As my boy Scott Peck would say. I fell in love with the act of investing mental or emotional energy in a person, object, or idea. That's all that it is. It's a mental and emotional investment. It's nothing that is sustained. It's nothing that you have to work for. You're just investing something. If you think about it, that's like if you go to the casino and you keep putting your dollars in. You're invested in winning the game. It doesn't mean that you love it. It doesn't mean that you want to be here. It doesn't mean that you're going to come again tomorrow or anything else. All it means is that thing. You have invested time in trying to win this game, so therefore you keep putting dollars in. This guy is invested in having sex with you, so he keeps doing these nice things to try to win you over. This woman wants you to see that she really likes you, so she keeps going out and trying to do these acts of service and trying to wow you. That's all that it is. Investment does not mean love. And that's going to hurt a lot of people. And that's going to have a lot of people really thinking about some things, but it's the truth. Investment is not love. It's exactly what it is. It's an investment. It's a down payment. It's a percentage. It's a small thing. And for me, I think that's where my missing piece was. And I already know when I do choose to date, or even if me and him become better at some point in the future, I know I went about it wrong, but I went about it wrong because I just didn't know any better. And when I was thinking about this episode and, being smart and I've done this and I've done that, that's what I really, really, really wanted to hone in on and really have the conversation of. So many of us, it's not that we are doing, or it is not that we are bad people or we have so many of these issues. We just don't know what we don't know, right? You are only at fault if once you know better, you still don't do better, then it's your fault. But once you find yourself in these situations, right, and then you have these realizations and you start to see them for what they are on the back end, right, you've just learned a lesson. Right? You've paid the price to earn a lifelong lesson that you hopefully won't repeat again so that you're not in the same situation. And for me, like I said, I'm an open person. This is important to me. I know many people are also in these situations. And it's important. We don't think about how someone maintains, nurtures, and respects us as love, right? The girls just don't want to be cheated on. They want you to spend some money. They want you to show them off. They want to be treated like a princess for their quote-unquote soft era, right? But none of it mentions how it's going to be sustained or how it's going to be nurtured or how in those times where you're feeling low, the love is still there. You're still emotionally present and you're still emotionally available and you're still showing up, even if that's only 5% for today instead of the 95% that you usually do, right? That's real love. Those are the love in the marriages that last for 30, 40, 50, or 60 years, right? That we hear about and we dream about for those who want to get married, But those are the things that we look at as like a real goal, something that could be obtained. And I think it's so important that I really want all of you all that are listening to really kind of really think about that. I want you to assess the relationships that are in your life, starting with your family, your friendships, and down even to your intimate relationships if you are in those. And think about, are these relationships that have been sustained, or are these relationships that have just been going on for all this time because of proximity, right? Those are we went to the same school in the 4th grade and we've always lived next door to each other, and that's how we became best friends, right? Whereas when you get grown, right, how they say in church, you know God because of what he did for you, right? And you know this is your friend because of what they've done for you. You know this is your friend by the work that they've put in to maintain, nurture, and respect the relationship, right? This is not someone that just happens to be there or whoopsie daisy, it's just what we doing today, right? Who are those people that are by you, respect you, you trust, you have secure relationships with, and you have relationships that are worth and have been put to the test of time? And I'm serious about that. Like, I feel like I told y'all before in episode 1, my sense of belonging is real big this season. It's like my number one thing for me, right? That's it. Finding my sense of belonging, finding my place in community, finding that good circle of friendship, and having people in my life that love me, respect me, trust me, and are willing to have relationships that are maintained and nurtured on a consistent basis. So I just hope this podcast episode here really sheds some light on a topic that I feel like not anybody really is talking about. We using the word love, but we're not talking about what it looks like when we think we have love versus what love actually is. So I am really happy about this episode. I really want to hear what you all have to say with this episode. As usual, please share, please tell people, please feel free to message me if you want to. And also for that book, y'all, didn't forget, again, just message me, say you want the book. I'm going to send you the book. I really want y'all to have it. And I would just love for us to be in conversation about this idea, because I'm really on that, y'all. Like, that is something, like, I'm just really into that. I'm not going to shy away from that being something that's important to me anymore. I want real love. Like, I want sustaining, nurturing, respectful love. And I'm going to get it. Or I'll be like my grandma, 98, and still here and stress-free because she don't got a man. But either way I go, I'm going to have my joy. So I want to say thank you for everyone that has been listening. I hope you all have loved this episode as much as I have loved sharing this message. And feel free to let me know what your questions are or your comments. Until next time, bye.